Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology as we continue with the General Aircraft Showcases. So for today's showcase, we will be doing a French Maritime Patrol aircraft, the Atlantique 2. So let me just set up the quick mission here. I would normally do this in the Pro Mission Creator to just set some waypoints and stuff. But for some reason it bugged out and it wouldn't let me play with the Atlantique 2. Curiously enough, in game it serves as a source of off-board air targeting data, which is a very interesting choice since as a maritime patrol aircraft it would mostly be tasked with tracking surface targets. Let's see, we can just set up for 20,000 feet here, clear skies. Friendly forces are French. We'll say enemy is German, not that it matters. And that should be enough to get us in. Now the question is, do they simulate a weapons load? And that appears to be no. So let's calm that engine down. So we can get a pretty good view of it here. It bears a lot of similarities, I think, to kind of like an in-between of the P2 Neptune and the P3 Orion. And it certainly is an older aircraft, as we'll see. So let's head for, yeah, we aren't going to be getting great maneuverability here, but we're going to head for the channel and just do a kind of a channel patrol here. So there we go. Now the Breguet BR1150 Atlantic is a long-range maritime patrol aircraft designed and manufactured by French aircraft manufacturer Breguet Aviation. Now, it was designed in response to a 1958 NATO specification as a replacement for the Lockheed P2V Neptune. Breguet's submission was declared the winner over several competing bids. To produce the Atlantic, multinational consortium Société d'études et de construction de Breguet Atlantic, or SACBAT, was established during 1963. An initial order for 60 Atlantics, 40 for France and 20 for Germany, was received. Follow-on orders from export customers followed shortly thereafter, and it was first introduced to operational service during 1965. The Atlantic has been operated by a number of countries, commonly performing maritime roles such as reconnaissance and anti-submarine warfare. The Atlantic is also capable of carrying air-to-ground munitions to perform ground attack missions. A small number of aircraft were also equipped to perform ELINT operations. An updated version, the Atlantique 2, or ATL-2, was produced by Dassault Aviation for the French Navy in the 1980s, and that is what we are flying right now. A further improved model, the Atlantique 3, was proposed during the 1990s but ultimately unbuilt. Other operators of the Atlantic have included the German Navy, the Italian Air Force, the Pakistan Navy, and the Royal Netherlands Navy. In 1958, NATO produced a specification for a long-range maritime patrol aircraft to replace the Lockheed P2V Neptune, with Breguet's design, the BR1150, chosen as the winner of the competition at the end of the year. SACBAT was set up to build and develop the Atlantic, and the first prototype made its maiden flight at Toulouse on the 21st of October 1961, with the second prototype flying on the 25th of February 1962, followed by two pre-production aircraft with a longer fuselage in February 1963 and September of 1964. The initial order for 60 Atlantics, 40 for France, 20 for Germany, was placed in 1963, with deliveries starting in 1965 and continuing to 1968. Production line had shut down by the time the Netherlands placed an order for 9 Atlantics and Italy ordered 18. Aircraft from this second production batch were delivered from 1972 to 1974. In 1978, the French government authorized development of a new updated version of the Atlantic Nouvelle Generation, later known as the Atlantic 2, when orders from other nations did not occur. While the airframe and engines of the new aircraft changed little, equipment and avionics were considerably revised. These included new radar, a new sonar processor, a replacement tactical computer, and a forward-looking infrared camera turret installed under the nose, which I don't think they model it here, unfortunately. The ability to carry Exocet missiles was also added. 2 prototype Atlantique 2s were produced by converting existing Atlantics. First of these made its maiden flight on the 8th of May 1981. Production of the Atlantique 2 was authorized on the 24th of May 1984. Delivery started in 1989 with 28 eventually built from an original requirement for 42. By 2012, the Atlantique 2 had been rebranded as the ATL-2, at which point France had a total of 22 in service. In 2012, 18 French Atlantiques were undergoing a series of upgrades to increase the type's effectiveness in 2 stages. Phase 1, addressing obsolescence issues, and Phase 2, adding new capabilities. Also in 2012, a separate project was conducted to integrate the Mu-90 impact torpedo. Aircraft that receive these upgrades shall have an extended service life as well, enabling Atlantique operations to be extended to around 2032. A further upgraded Atlantique 3 was proposed for the Royal Air Force's replacement maritime patrol aircraft competition. However, it was withdrawn in 1996 following alleged hints from Ministry of Defense officials that the submission was unlikely to be successful. Competition later selected the BAE Systems Nimrod MRA-4 instead. Atlantique 3 would have featured various off-the-shelf avionics upgrades, including the adoption of a 2-man glass cockpit. The use of upgraded Allison AE2100H turboprop engines to drive the new Dowdy-built 6-bladed composite propellers reportedly would have increased power by nearly 10% and reduced fuel consumption by 15%. In late 1996, Dassault, which had merged with Breguet in the 1970s, thus acquiring the Atlantic design, intended to offer the Atlantique 3 to Germany, Italy, and France. By 2005, Dassault had abandoned marketing efforts on the Atlantique 3, choosing to promote a variant of the Dassault Falcon 900 corporate jet as a maritime patrol aircraft instead. Now, as we've seen, the Breguet BR1150 Atlantic is a twin-engine mid-wing monoplane with a double-bubble fuselage. Oh, we are going off the map. Whoops. Alright, our turn. There we go. That should enable us to cross over the channel. Yeah. So we will set a new course, 250, and we're going to go low to simulate using the magnetic anomaly detector on the rear of the plane. If you've ever seen an aircraft, so if we go to the external view, if you've ever seen an aircraft with that stinger kind of coming out the backside, that's generally a magnetic anomaly detector. It's basically a big magnetic sensor that can be used to detect magnetic anomalies in the Earth's geomagnetic field, and it's used for detecting submarines at shallow depths. As you know, submarines are basically a big mass of steel, so they would show up so they generate a magnetic field and would be detectable by this. Now, the upper lobe comprises a pressurized crew compartment, and the lower lobe houses a 9-meter long weapons bay with sonar buoy tubes aft of the weapons bay. Radar scanner is housed in a retractable under fuselage radome, while a magnetic anomaly detector is housed in a tail boom. It is powered by a pair of Rolls-Royce Tyne turboprop engines. An all-aluminum structure is used throughout the Atlantic's airframe, and corrosion is alleged to be a considerable problem due to the environmental factors imposed by the maritime environment. The Atlantic was designed for its purpose instead of refitting or modifying existing designs. The primary mission of the Atlantic is anti-submarine and anti-surface warfare. Its secondary roles include search and rescue, mine-laying and detection, and long-range maritime surveillance. The Atlantic can carry either 8 guided ASW torpedoes such as the Mark 46, or 12 depth charges, or 2 AM-39 Exocet anti-ship missiles in its internal bomb bay. German Atlantics usually carried Mark 46s only and flew unarmed during the last years of their service. Italian Atlantics have been periodically armed with NATO-provided nuclear bombs. In French service, 18 modernized Atlantique ATL-2 aircraft are being equipped with various new avionics and onboard sensors. Such systems include the Searchmaster derived from the RBE-2 AA active electronically scanned array radar developed for the Dassault Rafale, new digital acoustic processing systems, a Theos manufactured identification friend or foe system, and DCNS developed Lodi Logico-operational de trainement de información combat mission software. As far as their operational history goes, in 1987, Signals Intelligence Atlantique was operated by France as an airborne headquarters during Operation Imperaver, the French intervention against Libyan military units which had been deployed into neighboring Chad. And we're getting some ground effects here, so I'm going to bump our altitude up a little bit until we hit the channel again. Yeah. Communications intercepted by the Atlantique were immediately decoded and translated before being used to conduct strikes upon Libyan forces with greater accuracy. The German Marineflieger operated a fleet of Atlantics between 1963 and 2005. A number of these aircraft were modified for SIGINT work and were based at Nordholz Naval Air Base. During the Cold War, they commonly flew across the Baltic Sea and along the border with East Germany. These flights often had American and British intelligence personnel on board in addition to their German crews. During the 1990s, Germany deployed SIGINT Atlantics to observe the United Nations embargo of Yugoslavia and for reconnaissance flights during the Kosovo War in 1999. In 1992, Germany was considering replacing its Atlantics in the maritime patrol role. The modified Atlantic II was considered to be a frontrunner to be the replacement. In 1996, the planned procurement of a replacement was delayed in favor of a life extension program to enable the Atlantic Fleet to continue in service for a further decade. Germany ultimately elected to replace its Atlantics with a number of second-hand Lockheed P-3 Orions procured from the Netherlands. Several German Atlantics have been donated to museums, including the Militärhistorisches Museum Flugplatz Berlin-Gotto and the Dutch Air Force Museum, Klosterberg, Netherlands. During the 1960s and 1970s, the Atlantic competed with the Lockheed P-3 Orion to be selected as the Royal Netherlands Navy next anti-submarine aircraft. Selection process during which Lockheed Corporation was alleged to have engaged in multiple incidents of bribery ultimately chose the Atlantic. Fewer Atlantics were procured than originally planned, however, and a total of 3 Atlantics out of the Netherlands' 9-strong fleet were lost through a series of failures during missions over the Atlantic Ocean. These losses resulted in the grounding of the type in 1981 and contributed to its eventual replacement by the P-3 Orion. During NATO's intervention in the 1999 Kosovo War, French Atlantics performed overflying surveillance flights of the combat area. Flights within Serbian airspace were conducted by unarmed aircraft. In 1973, in the aftermath of the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971, Pakistan Navy opted to procure 3 Atlantics from France. In 1999, the Pakistan Navy Atlantic inadvertently flew into Indian airspace while probing Indian air defenses and was intercepted and shot down by Indian Air Force MiG-21 FL after the Atlantic ignored instructions and attempts to force it to land at an Indian base. The event became known as the Atlantique Incident. After 36 years of service, Pakistan's remaining Atlantics were formally retired in September 2012, following the arrival of P-3 Orions to replace them. And we are just about broken out into the channel here now. In 2009, a number of French Atlantics were dispatched to Dakar, Senegal, to participate in a multinational search effort to locate the crashed Air France Flight 447. In January of 2013, French Navy Atlantique IIs were deployed to act as ground strike aircraft during Operation Serval over northern Mali. A number of laser-guided GPU-12 bombs were dropped by the Atlantiques against Malian jihadist militants seeking to overthrow the Malian government. During deployment, the Atlantiques also served as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms, being able to provide a sustained presence unlike alternatives such as the EADS Harfang unmanned aerial vehicle. In 2015, Atlantique IIs were deployed to Iraq at the beginning of Operation Chamel against the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant forces, initially performing ISTAR and forward air control missions. On the 19th of August 2015, an Atlantique II flew a mission with 2 Mirage 2000s and dropped a GBU-12 on a command and control building, its first strike mission on the operation. As French military operations expanded into Syria in September 2015, the long range of the Atlantiques from their base in the UAE was utilized when undertaking reconnaissance operations instead of shorter range aircraft such as the Dassault Rafale. And the first variant was the original BR-1150 Atlantic. That's a rehash of everything. Now, the Atlantique 2 had several upgrades over the BR-115. Oh, it is 1150, okay. These included two Rolls-Royce Tyne RTY-20 Mark 21 series turboprop engines with a twin shaft developing 6,100 horsepower each, maximum speed of 400 miles per hour, cruising speed of 200 miles per hour, ferry range of 5,635 miles, mission endurance time of up to 18 hours, and operation at altitudes from 100 feet up to 30,000 feet through the use of the pressurized cabin and flight deck. Rated climb at 2,900 feet per minute, and the upgrade also enabled them to carry the Exocet missiles and the MU-90 impact torpedoes since July 2014. Now, since the ATL-2 has been in service for 20 or so years and has undergone several retrofits, there's another renovation operation in progress, where 18 out of the 22 ATL-2 Standard 5 aircraft that are operated by the French Navy are being upgraded to a new version called Standard 6. This upgrade is comprehensive and should allow the aircraft to operate until 2030. It includes development of a new combat system, the Logiciel de Traitement de Information Opérationnelle Nouvelle Generation. The system is used to establish a tactical picture based on data gathered by the aircraft's various sensors. New digital operator stations have replaced the original analog equipment. And another major improvement is the upgrade of the acoustic treatment subsystem called Sous-Système de Traitement Acoustique Numérique. This system is able to operate more sonobuoys than its predecessor and scan a broader range of frequencies. The system can also operate the most recent US sonobuoys, including in the multi-static mode. The Westcamp MX-20 electro-optical turret has also been integrated, which is the same one used on board the Boeing P-8A Poseidon. System had already been mounted on some ATL-2s, and the ATL-2 continues to be frequently used in Africa, where it serves as backup to ground forces. Last major elements of the Standard 6 upgrade include a new radar by Thales, the Thales Searchmaster ASA radar, and this multi-role surveillance radar offers the highest level of operational performance to detect stationary and moving maritime targets, including in high sea states, at ranges up to 200 nautical miles. French Navy will also receive a new mission preparation tool and simulator. A new Thales acoustic subsystem to gather and process signals from the latest generation airdrop sonobuoys for submarine detection. New navigation console designed by Dassault Aviation. New consoles for the tactical display subsystem developed by the French Army. And again, the Westcom MX-20 electro-optical turret, which will be integrated into the combat system. French Procurement Agency Direction Générale de l'Armement is authorized to transfer the first two upgraded Assault Atlantic 2 maritime patrol aircraft to the French Navy. French Ministry for Armed Forces announced on the 24th of October. Now, currently, only France operates the type, with Pakistan, the Netherlands, Italy, and Germany all having retired theirs in favor of the P-3 Orion. And that about sums it up. The only other things to note is that it has the capability to carry a crew of 12, which includes all the staff for monitoring sensors and such. It can also carry another 12 passengers or relief crew, so they can work in shifts. Everything else has been... And then its total armament capacity is up to 7,700 pounds of weapons, including torpedoes, depth charges, mines, anti-ship missiles, bombs, and or buoys. And that about sums it up. I guess they've actually played a really important role in Mali, basically serving that E-Link role, helping the French special forces in the area track down the Malian jihadists and such. And I think there was a video on that, but it's been a while. So we'll say we completed our anti-submarine patrol now, and we will proceed to the nearest French airbase, which, because of the faults of the map, even though we're playing as the French, they're they are considered enemy bases, which is a little silly. Which that's the advantage of doing this in a pro mission, is I can flip the sides so they're all friendly. As it is, they might shoot me down, actually. I guess we'll see. Because I think in these maps, some of them include kind of a built-in air defense system. You know, nothing huge, just like a couple stingers or other small air defense systems, but I guess we'll find out. Alright, so we're going to cut the throttle. This thing handles pretty poorly. Again, it's pretty equivalent to the P3, so you might have some decent low-speed performance, but this thing is mainly made for one thing and one thing only, and that's endurance. You know, it's supposed to go a long distance and then stay on station for a long time. And it's supposed to be very stable to fly, which it is. You know, you're not going to pull huge G's in it or anything, but when it comes to flying, it's certainly easy to fly. It's very stable. It's just sluggish. You know, so in that regards, it performs well for their for the stated intent. So we are going to line up with the runway here. I think I gotta put more power to the props. There we go. We are a little lower than I'd ordinarily like to be. There we go. I think we're evening out now. And we are going to try to course correct a little bit. I'll cut the throttle. And full throttle. Wanna make, okay, we came up a little bit short of the runway, but that's fine. I guess we'll hit the brakes now. Man, you can tell this thing's got corrosion with all the rust on it. We are... Oh, that's right. Oops. Oh. Wow, 160 flares. There we go. Now we're just gonna park ourselves. And... There we go. And get ready to hit the brakes. Actually, we might... I think we'll need to. There we go. Perfect. And now we are parked. Now, obviously, in the game, they don't have an idle animation for the turboprops. They always just go at the same speed, so they're still spinning. But there you have it. With that, I think we can safely end the mission now. And that is an overview of the Breguet 1150 Atlantic 2. Obviously very similar to the P3 Orion, which I can't remember if I did one of a showcase of that or not. I will if I didn't, but very similar. I mean, it was kind of... The Atlantic one is probably comparable to the original P3A Orion, because both of them were designed to replace the Lockheed P2 Neptune. The newer Atlantic 2 is probably more equivalent to the Lockheed P3C Orions. And now I think Dassault's moved on to their Dassault Falcon 900, I think the article said, as their new replacement maritime surveillance aircraft, just like the U.S. Navy has moved on to the P-8 Poseidon. So, finally seeing kind of an end to the era of prop-driven maritime aircraft, which were one of the few aircraft classes to have remained propelled mainly by propellers rather than jets. So it's kind of interesting to see that come to an end. Honestly, other than that, the only thing you got is, at least off the top of my head, is a handful of light attack aircraft like the the AT-6 Texan II. the Bronco. I know I remember reading there was talk of bringing the Bronco, like an upgraded variant of the Bronco back as a new light attack aircraft. You know, just kind of like a low capability, low cost system for hunting terrorists where you don't need an A-10 with all its armor and jets and stuff. Cargo aircraft like the C-130, C-160, A-400, and then some very early entry-level trainers for basic flight training. But yeah, it's number of prop-driven aircraft in military service are slowly dwindling. So with that, that concludes, I think, today our overview at the Atlantic 2. Come back next week for another overview, and I guess I forgot to mention, I'm recording this the day before Independence Day, but tomorrow is Independence Day, so for all my fellow Americans out there, if you're watching this the day it comes out, I wish you a happy Independence Day. And with that, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for next time, and stay safe out there, and we'll see you then.